And then start reading. I'll set this up here for you. Okay? I'm gonna scoot close because I want to see. Go for what you know, child.
I want to readjust. The first journey?
Right here.
Enoch's journey through the earth in
Sheol. Hell.
He went to hell? Last time we was reading it, that was last February. And they took and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire, and when they wished they appeared as men. And they brought me to the place of darkness, and to a mountain to the point of whose summit reached to heaven. And I saw the places of the luminaries and the treasures of the stars and of the thunder, and in the uttermost steps where were a fiery bow and arrows and their quiver, and a fiery sword and all the lightnings, and they took me.
Slow down a little bit for me, please, because all your words are kind of running.
What you mean?
Like when you read, if you go too fast, like if anybody goes too fast, it'll sound like, give me a sentence. And a fiery sword and all the lightnings, and then they took me to the living waters, you can't really understand it, versus if you were like, and a fiery sword and all the lightnings, and they took me to the living water. You know what I mean? Slow it up a little bit, so just so I can understand. And then plus what you're reading down and fast. So the sound is just hitting right here versus.
So if I read like this, I could read how you should.
Well, see, but you would still probably need to slow it down a little bit just so you can be understood. You were right here. Yup.
And they took me to the living water and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. And I came to a river of fire, in which the fire flows like water and discharges itself into the great sea towards the west. Saw the great rivers and came to the great river. What? Saw the great rivers and came to the great river?
Yeah. So he saw great rivers and he came to a great river. So, bless y'all, what I'm getting right now is like there were multiple great rivers. And by great, I'm thinking he's talking about size-wise great. You get what I'm saying? And so you see all of these great rivers, all of these big, massive rivers, and you come to either the one that was the biggest or the one that was feeding the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I'm just trying to put myself in, like, to visualize it as it's being described from Enoch's mouth, like to be able to, because based on what he's saying right now with all this fire, I'm thinking he is Sheol, but we had to keep reading and see, because he's like, they took me and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire, right? And so these people, or the ruachs that were there, were like flaming fire. So when you think about how fire, when a flame of fire is, like when we light a candle, right? And how it's so very chaotic and almost like a little dance sequence, right? It's like sometimes it's tall, sometimes it got little teeny peaks, sometimes it has multiple peaks within it. When the air blows it, it takes a different shape. You get what I'm saying? And so then Enoch goes on to say, and when they want to, they can take the shape of a man. So it's just like, it's a lot of shape shifting going on. And so when I think about shape shifting, and I think about chaos, and I think about things changing so quickly and so rapidly, it's giving me, like I said, out of order. Our Abba does things decent and in order. So it's giving very adversarial for me for right now, based on, you know what I mean, what's being described. So that's why I'm thinking when he says the great rivers and then the great river, he's like, yo, these are a whole bunch of big rivers, and maybe this one right here is either feeding these as these other great rivers, or that is the greatest of them all. That's what I'm thinking. What you think?
No, this is the page you're supposed to be reading.
Mm-hmm.
Cause it's like 44.
Mm-hmm.
You're on page 44.
Mm-hmm.
How?
What do you mean how?
We only read like 12 pages.
Well, it's page 44 in the book. It didn't. The actual writings of Enoch didn't start on page 1. There was like an introduction, and also a description of where these writings were found. So it talks about Dead Sea Scrolls, and it also talks about the difference between this one and the Ethiopic Book of Enoch, because some of the things in the Ethiopic Book of Enoch are not in this version of Enoch that we have. Mm-hmm. And so there's a section on that
what
talks
about
about.
The other one we was reading? What happened to the other one we were reading?
The other one we were reading. This is the same one we've been reading all the time.
The page didn't look like this. Just a picture. The other one we were reading was white. Like actual text. It was never like this.
The one that we've been reading thus far, that's the same one, because I always get it
not the one from the week before last. I promise you it's not. It
is. Maybe the lighting on my iPad is different, but the one that we've been reading the whole time has always come from this archive website. That's the Roman. That's how I have the Roman numerals, and I use the same Roman numerals to keep up with where we've been.
But last time I read the page, it looked like this. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's what, maybe the lighting on my iPad might have been a little bit different.
It won't even this color. Or like a picture like this. Actual text, like how the other scriptures are.
You are right here. Oh, yep, it is. And I came to a river of fire. No. Right here, verse 5. And I came to a river of fire in which the fire flows like water.
And I came to a river of fire in which the fire flows like water, and discharges itself into the great sea towards the west. I saw the great rivers and came to the great river into the great darkness, and went to the place where no flesh walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place where all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mouths of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouths of the deep. I saw the treasuries?
Treasuries, yep. You know what a treasury is?
Treasure?
The place where the treasure would go. Like the keeping place.
Of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation, and the firm foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the four winds which bear the earth, and the firmament of the heaven. And I saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you want to switch it? Because I asked you earlier to read all 6.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted me to do that. I can do that if you want to.
No, I don't mind. Okay, 45. Yes, you are correct. And I'll just go back to the last sentence.
I know, because the page I was reading was 44.
Mm-hmm. These are the pillars of the Shamayim. Okay, so where he is now, where Enoch is not Sheol, because he says these are the pillars of the Shamayim. So unless
I thought he said he could see heaven. How was he in heaven?
Huh?
I thought he said he could see heaven. How was he in heaven?
Well, this is when Yah allows Enoch to travel through the Shamayim and through Sheol. So I'm thinking in the beginning, because it says the first journey, right? Enoch's journey through the earth and Sheol. And so right now, it's when you were reading, it would sound like Sheol, based on, you know, what I was telling you about as far as fire and chaos and how those things are out of order. And now when he says, I've gone to, let me see, what verse was that? In verse 6, where you have, where you read, where he said, and went to the place where no flesh walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter and the place from where all the waters of the deep flow. So I'm thinking, like, because you know, when you see the ocean, man has gotten to the point where you're not even allowed to go to the quote unquote ends of the ocean. Supposedly, it's nothing out there, but it is rumored that you can see where what Enoch is talking about is, as far as
ocean ends.
Yeah, where the ocean ends and drops down, which would kind of prove, well, not kind of, which would prove a theory that the earth is flat.
How can you see when the earth goes? You can't go that far.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So if the earth is flat, right? If the earth is flat, and you travel to where it ends, you would be able to see where it drops off into where Enoch says where all the waters of the deep flow. So like a waterfall, you get what I'm saying? You know how the waterfall starts at the river and then it drops off. And so if that's the case, then that's where Enoch is, where the water dropped off, because he was able to see where the water flows into where it drops off. You get what I'm saying? So it's like he's standing at the bottom of the waterfall and seeing where it goes. Does that make sense when I say it like that? All right. And so that's what makes me think, because now he's in a place of order, he can see where the mouths of the rivers of the earth and the mouth of the deep. I mean, I saw the mouths of all the rivers. So the mouth, right, is either where things begin or where things end. I say it begins because things can come forth from out of the mouth, right? From out of the mouth, the heart speaks, right? And so things can come forth from out of the mouth, but the mouth also consumes. And so the mouth can also be the end of things. So he could also be looking at where these rivers end, not necessarily where they begin, but like how he was talking about the waters of the deep flowing, he could still be talking about, I can see where all of the water of the earth flows into. But not. And that's what is making me think, oh, he's no longer in Sheol, because chaos is in Sheol, order is not. And now it's talking about he saw the cornerstone of the earth, right? The cornerstone of a building is the one that holds everything together. That's what the cornerstone. That's why Yahushua HaMashiach is called the cornerstone, right? The piece that holds everything together. And he saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of the Shamayim and have their station between heaven and earth. So now he's looking at the firmament, because in the scripture says when Yah put the firmament above the Shamayim and below, right, to separate the Shamayim from earth. Remember that in Genesis, in the creation story, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so Enoch is looking at all of this. Enoch is looking at what we read in Bereshit as far as when Yah created the origins of the earth. I saw the winds of the Shamayim which turn and bring the circumference of the sun and all the stars to their setting. So when we're talking about circumference, like in your math class, right? You're talking about the distance around. That's the circumference. And so Enoch is able to see how the winds, okay, to the best of my understanding, Abba, the way my mind can perceive, conceive, retain, and then speak forth, according to your perfect and holy will. the circumference of the sun, and all the stars to their setting. So based on what Enoch is saying, the winds are doing this. That's the order or the function of the wind, to put the sun in its place, the earth in its place, the stars in their place. I saw the winds of the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the heaven above, right? The Shamayim above. And I proceeded and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east, 3 towards the south. And as for those towards the east, one, what are I? That's only 6. 3 towards
6 what?
He said he saw 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east, 3 towards the south. So that only means it's one more. But how if it's north, south, east, and west? Let's see. And as for those towards the east, one was of the colored stone, and one of pearl, and one of jacinth. Okay, so these are all stones. You know what pearl looks like. Let's look at what jacinth looks like. What color is that?
Pretty sure I already saw it.
Probably. It's reddish orange.
I knew it.
You did? So that is, I wonder if that's like jasper. No, what color is jasper? Jasper. So I was right? Okay. And then it says was of colored stone. So I'm thinking of onyx, right? Because onyx is black. So if you're saying a colored stone, I'm thinking he's talking about a black one. But we'll see. Was of colored stone, and one of pearl, and one of jacinth. And those towards the south of red stone, which is what's the name of that stone? I'm trying to think of it because I got it in your ears when you were a baby. Talking about a birthstone.
Ruby?
Yep, ruby. So I'm thinking that that's the one that he's talking about. He saw a ruby. But the middle one reached to Shamayim, like the throne of...
Remember that day in, what was that, Marshall?
Mm-hmm.
And I did the little birthstone thing, and I was like, y'all told me I was going to get October or something. I really got July. The charm, the little heart charm that's red. It was me, you, and Grandma was in the store, and I was putting the coins in there to get the birthstone, and I was like...
Oh, the little turning machine.
Yeah, you was like, nah, you're going to get October or February or something.
And you really got it.
And I really got July.
Yeah. The little like candy machine that you turn when you put the quarters in there. Okay, verse 8. But the middle one reached to Shamayim like the throne of Elohim of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And I saw a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains is a region, the end of the great earth, so that's the end. There the Shamayims were completed. So the Shamayim stretches further than the earth, or the dirt, right, in which we walk on. And I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure alike towards the height and towards the depth. Okay, so they were even. Widthwise and lengthwise, they were the same. And beyond that abyss, I saw a place which had no firmament of the Shamayim above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and horrible place. Okay? And I saw there 7 stars, like great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, this place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the hosts of the Shamayim. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of Elohim in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed time. Woo, glory to the Most High. And he was wroth with them, and bound them to the time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years. Now here's why my rock is stirred about that. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of Elohim in the beginning of their rising. Why? Because they did not come forth at their appointed times. All of us are given an appointed time to do that in which Yah has called us to do. like the parable of the barren fig tree. We all have an appointed time, right? And so man has made it to the point where we're thinking like, oh, there's no rush, there's no sense of urgency. Take your time. Don't be in a rush. All of these things, right? But we all are supposed to have a sense of urgency when it comes to moving according to the will of our Abba. We should all have a sense of urgency about getting to this word, undoing the nonsense of the world, right? And aligning ourselves or realigning ourselves according to the will of our Abba to the purpose and intent in which He created us. And so it isn't about what man has told us to do, it's about what Yah has spoken to us since the beginning. You see, it says in the beginning of their rising. So that's why in the word Yah says, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. Why? Because I created you. So before your mother even pushed, before your mother even conceived you, you had a purpose and a function and a time frame in which to bring forth the fruit of that purpose and that function. Worldly things will distort and distract you from figuring out what that is. And the only way to figure out what that is to stick with our Abba, right? Everything that we need about everything that we are is in Him. Not in YouTube, not in your best friend, not in Google. All of those things were created as a distraction, right? And now granted, you can find bits and pieces of, truth nestled in these things. I'm not saying that everything on YouTube is wicked, everything on Google is wicked, everything that man says is wicked. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if it's not an extension, and by extension I don't mean a different, I mean the exact same thing. Like if I'm telling you the color is blue and you go somewhere else and somebody else says the color is blue, that type of extension of what Yah is saying, then it can be received as truth. But we are called to test the Ruach, test the spirit. If your 1 + 1 doesn't equal the same 2 that my Abba has said, then your 1 + 1 is false. But no, I don't care how you try to count it up, it's still false. And sometimes what this world will do is like, I mean, it's still 2. 2 is 2, isn't it? Absolutely not. If your 2 doesn't line up with what my Abba says, your 2 is false. It's fake. It's a shiny babe hoodie. Dupe. Huh? No problem. And Uriel said to me, here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women and the spirits. With women and their spirits, assuming many different forms and defiling mankind. And they shall lead them astray into sacrifices to demons. That's Elohim. Here shall they stand to the day of the great judgment in which they shall be judged, till they are made an end of. And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens. And I, Enoch, alone saw the vision, the end of all things. And no man shall see as I have seen. Glory to the Most High. I don't think I would have been able to stomach all of that. If I would have had the responsibility that Enoch had of going out there and looking at that and being able to know, it's just like Yahushua HaMashiach waking up every morning knowing that he's getting closer and closer to that cross. You get what I'm saying? It's like, how do you live knowing what the end is? Enoch was living knowing what the end is, right? And not only living and knowing what the end is, living and knowing what the end is, and knowing that it doesn't have to be that way, but it is because of the choices that you make. That's like me telling you, Nyla, tie your shoe. Tie your shoe, tie your shoe, tie your shoe, tie your shoe. Because I know that you're going to fall. And you just like being defiant. Like, nah, Mom, I'm good. I got it. I've been walking for 13 years. I know how to walk with my shoes untied. I'm going to be fine. And I'm just like, bro, Yah has already told me that not only are you going to fall, you're going to fall and hurt yourself really badly. And it's going to be so devastating to you. And your feelings are going to be hurt. You get what I'm saying? And me waking up every day knowing that, but still yet knowing that when it happens, that whole thing could have been avoided if you would have just hearkened to my voice. You know? You feeling a little hot? You want to take this cover off? No? Okay. What do you feel? Just weak? Okay. You'll notice every time we have something sweet that kind of happens. Let's take a sweet break in all forms, even from naturally sweet stuff like juices and stuff like that. Okay. All right. Chapter 20. The names and functions of the seven archangels. You feel like it? If you feel like it, cool. All right. Go ahead. It's right there.
That's it.
Yeah, because I already read that part. So you can read that. You got it? Make sure you speak up.
And these are the names of the holy angels who watch. Uriel, one of the holy angels who was over the world and over
What does it say? Tartarus. What is that? Let's see if it'll tell us. Ooh. You got it?
What?
I don't know. My iPad on it. A primeval god, offspring of chaos. A part of the underworld where the wicked suffered punishment for their misdeeds, especially those such as Ixion and Tantalus who had committed some outrage against the gods.
Greek mythology.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that part must have been translated from Greek. Okay, so basically, it's looking like Uriel is over the world and Sheol. The place where Yah has said.
Why you don't just say hell?
Because hell is a man-made word. When you say hell, right, and based upon what is common knowledge, right? You think of fire and this kind of creature with horns and a long tail and people down there, and that's kind of like the depiction of hell. Because I don't know that to be true, I say Sheol because Sheol is what's written in my scriptures. It's in the covenant scriptures that I have. It says Sheol. It doesn't say hell. So therefore, that's the terminology and language that I use based on what I read. Okay. And so, but it seems like Uriel is responsible for that because you see, it doesn't say the earth, right? There's a difference between earth and the world. World can be viewed as nation, right? A group of people. It can also be viewed as the culture of a place. So when I read scripture and I see something that says the world, right? Because you know how I said we're in the world but not of it. We're in this life. We're in this experience. We're in this place of lawlessness, right? We're in this place of things that are against Yah, but that's not who we are. And so when I see it say the world and what is it? Tartarus, I'm thinking the way he's over the ways of the world and basically the consequences of the ways of the world. What you think? You don't think so?
That definition came from Greek.
Right. So
when I was reading my Greek mythology and stuff, they was talking about half man, half horse. I don't know.
You mean when you say you don't know if it's true, you don't know if it's a such thing as half man, half horse, or?
Oh, I know it's not.
You're
saying that's the type that they be saying, so I don't know if that definition can be
so you're saying based
factual.
Got it.
Because they be saying
Okay, go ahead.
Raphael, one of the holy angels who is over the spirits of men. Raguel, one of the holy angels who takes. Why is it a cross by takes?
Cross by take means, I think that's a direct translation of Hebrew. So remember I told you in the beginning it has crosses, brackets, asterisks, and parentheses, and bold. And so each of those things talks about whether they got it directly out of like the Dead Sea Scrolls, if they got it from something that was written in Aramaic.
I don't know. Every time you say Dead Sea Scrolls, it reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know why though.
Mm-hmm. Whether it was written in Hebrew or Aramaic. And Aramaic is the language that our people were speaking after Babylonian captivity. So after Nebuchadnezzar and so Nebuchadnezzar took, I think, help me Abba with my history memory. I think Nebuchadnezzar conquered Yehuda, not Yashrael as a whole. I think the Assyrians captured Yashrael, or it might have been the Assyrians or the Armenes. I have to look it up, but either I think it's the Assyrians. They captured the northern tribes, and then Nebuchadnezzar captured Yehuda, and that's where we started speaking Aramaic due to one being captured and being taught the language of those who had captured us, but also it was the language of trade at that time, and so we were still trading with other people, and it was a common language of the exchange of goods. Make sense? Now, do you remember the separation of the tribes when the northern tribes or the 10 tribes left, and it was just David and the tribe of Benjamin? So Yehuda and the tribe of Benjamin. What?
I don't remember.
All right, so
I was looking because I could feel the bump, but I don't think it was there already.
okay. Absalom. Remember David's son Absalom? And how he had sex with all his concubines out in the open because Yah told David what he did in secret he was going to have done to him out in the open. You remember that? And Absalom had sex with the concubines out in the open, and he took some of those people with him, and there was a separation between him and David, him and his dad. All right, and then going forward, remember when after Solomon had died and we started putting our own place as far as kings, and one of Solomon's sons, I can't remember which one, was supposed to trade with the people of can't remember who is it. It's in 2 Kings, I believe. Bet Melachim. Well, anyway, we were supposed to have been trading with some other people, and once the son of Solomon died, and his grandson, came to reign as king. Right, he was appointed as king, and he was supposed to be kind to another group of people, and he chose not to. He chose to rebel, although the elders and everyone in the land was like, "Yo, you know what I mean? Be kind to those people. Your father was kind to these people." He was talking about Solomon. Your father was kind to these people. We've been trading with them. We haven't had any problems in this land. Like, continue to do so. And instead of doing that, what the elders had been telling him, he decided he wanted to tax the land, tax those people instead of being kind to them. So he was extra strenuous, taxed them, mean to them, and so because of that, Yah allowed a split between the tribe of Yehuda and Benjamin, the tribes of Yehuda and Benjamin, and the northern tribes, or the other 10 tribes. Because they were like, "What? We don't even have an inheritance in the house of David, right? Like, y'all, for real, we not even with David. That's not our plan. We separated from him anyway. And so now, because you are attached to him, right? Because that's the grandson of Solomon, which means he will be the great grandson of David. Because that's your lineage, and y'all cause all those type of issues, we're gonna go ahead and escape anyway." And there was a separation. But now you understand. Okay. Why were we talking about the separation? I lost my train of thought. I'm like, why were we even discussing the train of thought?
Because I asked about the cross.
Okay, and so, thank you for bringing that up. So that I said all of that to say that's why some of these symbols are in this Book of Enoch, because there's a difference between transliteration and translation. And some of these things are coming from a Greek translation, right, or Aramaic translation, and some of it is coming from Hebrew. And so, what the authors of this version of the Book of Enoch have done is let you know, based on these symbols, I either got this from Hebrew text, I got this from Aramaic text, or I got this from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and so that's what those crosses mean. So I don't remember if that is Greek or if that is Hebrew. So we would have to go back up to the top afterwards to look it up to see. Okay?
Vengeance on the world of the luminaries.
Do you know what a luminary is? Luminaries are
stars.
Yep. And what else? The sun.
Oh, the sun and the moon.
Yep. All luminary means light, right? Basically. And so all the lights of the sky are considered luminaries. But no? Alright.
How many pages did you read? One? Oh. I like he's reading a long time. Michael, one of the holy angels. To wit, he that is. To wit. What is it?
I guess to know.
He that is set over the best part of mankind and over chaos. Sarah K.L. One of the holy angels who was set over the spirits who sin in the spirit. Gabriel, one of the holy angels who was over paradise and the serpents and the cherubim. Remiel, one of the holy angels whom Yah set over those who rise. And I proceeded to where things were chaotic, and I saw there something horrible. I saw neither a heaven above nor a firmly founded earth, but a place chaotic and horrible. And there I saw 7 stars of the heaven bound together in it, like great mountains and burning with fire. Then I said, for what sin are they bound, and on what account have they been cast in hither?
Like basically, like what in the world could they have done to end up here? Basically, is what you're not asking. Okay.
Then said Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and who was chief over them, said, Enoch, why dost thou ask, and why art thou eager for the truth? These are the number of the stars of heaven, which have transgressed the commandment of God. Don't this remind me of you?
For sure. Definitely for sure. And I can.
Because you know, he was supposed to be like the son of God or whatever. And he basically, they didn't say that, but he basically went to hell. And he was fighting all them snakes. That movie really good.
Fighting all of the snakes to bring balance back to the earth. Right?
Let me see if I got that on BTV, man.
And then, okay, I want to see it too. And then remember also what caused all of the unbalance. People being disruptive and chaos and being mean. Remember? Because when he beat the other man.
That man was mad. He tried to go find a way to get back what he had. Instead of just letting him basically kill.
And then when he gave him back joy, that's when all the balance came back. Remember that? And then also notice how Enoch is like Uriel. Remember I was telling you, I think Uriel was over Sheol. And so now he's like, that's where Enoch
I keep forgetting why you say Sheol.
Remember that's where Enoch said that he saw. Because if he's not in the Shamayim and he's not on earth, and this section is talking about Sheol. And Uriel is over the world, right? Remember I was talking about culture and the way things are, and over Tartarus.
Sheol is a little more interesting than learning about heaven, because people always talk about that you already know. And nobody never want to talk about that.
Right, it's like they want to run away from Sheol. And you know what, and that's a great point that you brought up, because that's a lot of the reason why people are misled, right? It's like you only want to talk about the love of quote unquote God, right? That's what people say. Oh, he's so loving and he's so forgiving, and all of those things he is. He says that he are. All of those things he is. He is loving.
You can't. That's not even the way a sentence in general.
What?
He are.
He is loving and he is forgiving, right? That's true. But he's also wrathful. And it talks about that in scripture. And he's also a person of his word. He's a man of it. He says, I'm not a man that I should lie, right? And so what that means is y'all humans, y'all might play with it, but for
not
me,
y'all humans, like you're not a human.
Yeah, because that's how I've been feeling. Sometimes I just be like, y'all humans, bro. Am I really a part of this? And then he's like, yep, because remember what you said earlier? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I still fall short.
Remember when you pushed Nala down the steps?
No, absolutely not. But it's like, we want to talk about all of what we consider positive characteristics or positive attributes of our Elohim, but we don't want to talk about those things in which we consider negative. It's like, oh, we're just going to push that aside. First of all, everything about our Abba is tov and just, is good and just, right? He's perfect in everything. And so, in all things come together for the good of those that love him and are called, right? What do you mean by that? It's like, yo, you do what you're supposed to do according to the will of our Abba, and according to the strength in which he gives you, then he will complete the work in you that he started from before you were even born. Everybody, the work is going to be completed regardless. So you might as well work with them. I'd rather him be working in me for righteousness than me working in me for wickedness. You get what I'm saying? And so that's what that is. And so it's like, yo, if you're going to talk to me about my Abba, don't just tell me that he's merciful and that he's forgiving. Tell me that he don't play around at the same time. You know what I mean? Because that puts me in a position to make better decisions versus just assuming that because my Abba is forgiving, that I can be lenient or indecisive in my decision making. But that's not what the word says. It says, if a man cannot serve two masters, right?
That's what you said.
Yep. You can't. That's Matthew 6. Matthew 6. You can't. So I can't be out here talking about I love Yah, but living like there is no Yah. Because of my lack of understanding that he's not playing. Which is why he says, spare the rod and spoil the child. Now, does that mean knock your child through a wall and beat them till they're black and blue? No, it does not. No, but it means like if you make your child think that they can play with you, you place them in a position to not understand. That's on you. You can't do it. You shouldn't do that.
That's what you saying you're gonna do to me?
Beat you down to the ground?
Mm-hmm.
No. But you know what I mean? Like you can't do that. You have to let your kin be kin and your low be low. Your yes mean yes and your no be no. Like there is no in between. That gray area, that I don't like ambiguity. Like that's why I'm like when I tell you don't say I guess. Either tell me yes or no, because that gray area leaves too much room for error. Because now you have space to assume. Our Abba doesn't want us assuming. You get what I'm saying? All right. So these are the number of the stars of the Shamayim, which have transgressed the commandment of Elohim, and are bound here till 10,000 years. The time entailed by their sins are consummated. And from there I went to another place, which was still more horrible than the former. And I saw a horrible thing, a great fire there which burnt and blazed, and the place was cleft as far as the abyss, being full of great descending columns of fire. Neither its extent or magnitude could I see, nor could I conjecture. Then I said, how fearful is the place, and how terrible to look upon. Then Uriel, of course it would be him, because that's his domain. Then Uriel answered me, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, Enoch, why hast thou such fear and affright? Like, why you scared, Enoch? And I answered, because of this fearful place, and because of the spectacle of the pain. And he said unto me, this place is the prison of the angels, and here they will be in prison forever. So you notice the first place, Enoch says, the place that I'm in now is worse than the first. And the way he was describing the first was horrific. But the first one wasn't for the angels. The first one was for the luminaries, right? So obviously, if we're looking at the order of things, both of y'all are wrong, but you angels have more responsibility to meet. And so because of the greater of your responsibility, the greater of your consequence, right? See, like, yeah, the luminaries, that doesn't negate the fact that the luminaries are in trouble. But you're even more in trouble. Why? Because you know no better. It's a difference between knowing better and know no better. Your friends might know with me not to say certain things that they might usually say, or do certain things that they might usually do. You get what I'm saying? It's like, nah. One, just out of respect for an adult, and then maybe they might take it a step further and be like, hey, you know what I mean, Miss Lovely kind of cool, I don't want to carry it like that around her, or I don't want her to see me in a different way. But you, my expectation for you, it would be totally different than my expectation for your friends. Now, granted, I'm not going to allow them to be with me wilding out, but my expectation for you, even when you're not with me, is obviously not to be wilding out. But even more so, don't do that, Miss Nyla. Why? Because you know better. You have been taught. You have had time with me to know what should be done and what shouldn't. But no, same thing for the angels. Okay. And notice that the luminaries were bound for 10,000 years. The angels, it says, will be imprisoned forever. All right. Okay. And so now he says he's in Sheol. So the angels weren't in Sheol and the luminaries weren't in Sheol, yet the place where they were was still horrific. And I was thinking about that not too long ago. I was like, yo, that's crazy how people, we only talk about Sheol and the Shamayim, or heaven and hell. But our Abba has the power, the authority, and the capacity and the ability to send us to a place way worse than that. Yah can do something so, oh my gosh, for lack of a better word, magnificent, that it would make you cry for Sheol. That would make you ask him to put you in hell, because of the place where you are now is so much worse than that. Like, can your brain even like conceptualize something like that? Like, bro, I couldn't even fathom begging and pleading with Yah to place me in Sheol, because the place in which he has sent me is way worse than that. But he has the ability to do so. So don't play with him, don't play with him, don't play with him. Come on now. Don't play with him. And this I went to another place, and this is chapter 22, Sheol, or the underworld. And this I went to another place, and he showed me in the west another great and high mountain, and of hard rock. And there was in it 4 hollow places, deep and wide and very smooth. How smooth are the hollow places, and deep and dark to look at. And there were, wait. 3 of them were dark and 1 bright. And there was a fountain of water in its midst. And I said, how smooth are these hollow places, and deep and dark to view. Then Raphael answered, one of the holy angels who was with me. Now, where is Raphael's domain? Let's go back up. Raphael is over the spirits of men. Okay, so he's over the Ruach. So now we know, okay, we're talking about hollow places. We're talking about rocks. We're talking about smooth and fountains of water. And now we know that Raphael is over the spirits of men. So Enoch must be, but it says Sheol, or the underworld. Okay, but Raphael, it just said that Raphael is over the spirits of men. So maybe the spirits of men is Sheol, or maybe, so what, he's going to be in the earth first. You got oil on your face? Because that might be what's going in your eye. Then Raphael answered, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, these hollow places have been created for this very purpose, that the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble therein. Oh yeah. Yea, that all the souls of the children of men should assemble here. Alright, so we know, if he's talking about all the souls of the children of men should assemble here, we can know that because Raphael, okay, so maybe Raphael is not only over the souls of men as they are alive, but also as they are, you know what I mean, not. Mm-hmm.